Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon to you. Welcome back to this 10th session of Skills Fest that's been happening this week. This is number 10 of 11, so it's been a busy week. I'm Jonathan Ledger, Skills and Professional Bodies Specialist at the Department for Business and Trade, also the lead for the UK Skills Partnership, who is hosting Skills Fest. The UK Skills Partnership is a voluntary collective of skills and training organisations that operate on the global stage. And it's there really to kind of help represent the sector, but also open doors to opportunities and collaborations wherever we want to work in the world. Today on this session, late afternoon, early evening, whichever way you want to look at it, the setting of the sun outside the window in the UK. We do not have the setting of the sun in this group of experts that are online today. So we have Robert Ashcroft from Auspicious Group. We have Masooma Fadhul, I hope I've said that right, from ETIO. We have Majid Al-Kader from MX Reality. We have Pete Reed from Persona Education, Simon Connell from Baker Deering International, and Aleksandra Lebedeva. Is that right? Have I just about got that right? From Immerse Education. So a really good group, very diverse organisations, all working on the global stage, all want to work in partnership with providers, institutions, governments, employers, etc. around the world. So we're going to have an entertaining session this afternoon. 2 hours seems like a long time. It soon whizzes through. And rather than me talking anymore, I'm going to hand straight over to Robert. But before we do put your contact details in the chat. People do pick up the contact details and we do a bit of networking in the chat, hopefully. And also, if you've got any questions at all, put them in the chat. We'll come back to them at the questions and answers session right at the end of our presentation set today. So we're going to save all the questions until the end. So here we go, diving in with Robert. We're all going to disappear and we're going to go off and get a cup of tea or whatever while Robert's having a natter, but we're all listening intently. So Robert, over to you.
Thank you. Hi, everyone, and lovely to be here. Thank you for the invite. My name is Rob Ashcroft, as has just been said. I'm the Chief Learning Officer here at the Auspicious Group. And today I'm going to be speaking about how I've built organisational capability through people-centric experiences. I think before I get into the depth of the presentation, what we do at Auspicious is very much bring a collection of talent together, whether that's documentary filmmakers, short form advertising, learning experts and custom software developers, blended with our corporate comms experience to essentially deliver services that help organisations globally deal with colleague and customer engagement. Now, my background primarily is what I'm going to draw upon. For the last 25 years before joining Auspicious, I worked client side here in the UK. I worked for a high street bank, most of that time in learning and development focused on the skills and capability agenda. And it's in my recent years there where I was the head of people capability, responsible for recruitment, learning and internal mobility. Now, it's where I feel passionate about this building capability through people-centric experience, and I'll unpack what I mean by that as I go through, because it was in those during those latter years that I had the fortunate pleasure of working in a team called Culture and Capability for a people director who recognised something important, that our individual components of recruitment, learning, talent and culture, when combined from a people lens and perspective, had a far greater power and influence. This helped me appreciate, quite long in the tooth, I must admit, in my career, but it did nonetheless help me appreciate that the power of bringing things together and looking at the world through our employees' eyes or from an individual's perspective, rather than through my little silo of a head of learning, really shifted how I think about engaging people in their skills gaps and their capability journey. Now, as I reflect since leaving that 25-year career and joining Auspicious, I use what I call this vicious spiral of problems, essentially. Now, this is born out of how I articulate what I observed over the years, what I heard from my peer group in the industry and others, and what I hear from several of our clients almost weekly at the moment. And it starts with this fragmentation. This disconnect isn't just about systems, though. Systems are a good indication of how fragmented an environment is. It's about the fragmentation of initiatives, strategies, the absence of strategic alignment, competing agendas and viewpoints, multiple versions of strategies, visions and mission statements, whether that's by division or by team or by business area. UK businesses versus global business owners. There's so much fragmentation, and whilst on the face of it, all these seem aligned, to many employees, they look disparate and disconnected. And from my HR perspective, if I'm brutally honest, I saw this every day. You see, in my world, learning was different from talent. Talent was different from recruitment and reward, and all of us collectively are very different from corporate communications, right? We were all trying, though, to serve the same end employee through our own initiatives and viewpoints, though, pushing things out to the workforce in this siloed mentality, in this silo approach, which just exacerbates this fragmentation. Now, that was just HR. You do that across all the other central functions, trying to do right by an organisation. And invariably, it's just an amount of overwhelm. Now, this breeds confusion and friction, right? And it only serves to get in the way of the current task at hand. You know, employees are employed to do a job. They turn up, they do the job, and they do that exceptionally well to the best of their ability. And sometimes they're asked to do other things that, unfortunately, the viewpoint can be that gets in the way of doing the job. And unfortunately, for my profession, that was often learning and development, because one of the things that learning and development often leads with, particularly in banking and other regulated industries, is that you've got to do some things every year, mandatory training, compulsory training, and there's a lot of it, and it just becomes a tick box exercise. So in a corporate world, we set off on this horrific parent-child relationship where we tell you what you've got to do and we give you a deadline, and then we wonder why people don't engage. Now, when this confusion sets in and they blend that with seeing and hearing organisational views and different divisional views and what their team leader thinks and what they need to be doing, this still doesn't help pinpoint what they as individuals need to do in terms of the skills and capabilities that they need, and more importantly, why said skills and capability are needed. And if they are needed, even if they are articulated, when for? So when people don't engage, not because they don't want to, but because they really don't know why, how, or even what they need to do, this leads to an absence of usage, right? And therein lies the problem. Data isn't robust and reliable, whether that's traffic to a comms portal or a usage of an online performance plan or engagement in Viva Engage posts or attendance at town halls and lunch and learns. This absence of interaction creates poor data quality, which ultimately hinders decision making. So what do? We make assumptions. We read a white paper. We follow the pack because we don't know in the organisation genuinely whether we've got a problem or a gap or not. We're not data driven from a people capabilities perspective, or it's certainly not in my lived experience over all those years. Without good digital footprint data, you don't know what you have. And consequently, you tend to know more about the IT machines, certainly in my world, like the RAM, the speed, the space, the software, the versions and who's got them, than we ever did about the people that worked for us. And so this creates an overwhelming complexity that results in programs of work all intended to fix things, new strategies, refreshed EVPs, talent programs, leadership development, annual skills profiling, strategic workforce planning initiatives, all good intent, often supported beautifully by the external consultants that darken our doors from time to time, but they result in endless amounts of point-in-time data that typically get stored in Excel spreadsheets for somebody centrally to work their way through. And whilst these initiatives are deployed with good intention, typically every 3 years it feels, they serve only to close this loop, which is what creates this vicious cycle and spiral that contribute continuously to the fragmentation and confusion. And then we wonder why in this real complex, nebulous world of organizational culture, do we wonder why people are disenfranchised and disengaged? So when I reflect on that, I believe the pathway to success is quite simple, right? If we as organizations and people in positions of authority and influence focus on creating seamless, unified experiences that engage and enhance daily interactions to help our workforce understand what they need to do, why they need to do it in a single cohesive way, irrespective of the division they work in or the leadership they're reporting into or the system they happen to be using. Everything points to the same agenda. Now, this isn't new. We've talked about leadership and strategic alignment for years, but it's about the colleague experience of reducing the noise and focusing their attention on why they need to do something. How are we going to achieve it? And specifically, what individuals need to do to get there. The experience dimension eliminates friction, right? Through seamless unified interactions, this engagement dimension therefore fosters intrinsic motivation through active, enthusiastic involvement. This insight dimension therefore helps us unlock data-driven intelligence, which helps us make good informed decisions without assumptions and certainly not having to lean into the white papers that constantly get sent around. And then ultimately the strategy becomes much more coordinated and helps us align towards our common goals. When we get this right, it fosters engagement and active participation, right? People will contribute to ideation platforms, they'll participate in continuous listening and help shape the future direction of a company. This creates good data. It means that we have this intelligence that drives insight and ultimately enables coordinated strategic evolution that's purposeful, aligned, and based on actual workforce activity within your organization. Now, this might all sound all well and good, but how do we shape that, right? So within Auspicious, and I had the beauty of working client side with some of the subsidiary companies, particularly DBLX, who makes up part of the Auspicious group. I worked with DBLX for 10 years to change this landscape, to try and leverage this art of the possible, and it worked, right? I've done it, I've been there. So this isn't just theory and me spouting some quite simple thoughts. I've been there, right? And so in the experience dimension, we create, in my view, strategic microsites, functions, things that just operate like a good career marketing site would. The same amount of effort you might put in to attracting customers to your various value propositions of your company, put that same effort through good, high fidelity, consumer grade microsites. We call that an authoring tool, but it's not an intranet, right? It's a thing that delights and entices and encourages people to come along. Think of them when you put them in a career marketing site, think of them as what you might do on a recruitment website, but built for internal mobility. Job family marketing pages with authentic colleague stories that entice and intrigue your workforce. These aren't just static org charts, they're dynamic, engaging environments where people can explore context about what skills they need for their current role, their desired career path, and why it all connects to their strategic direction. We implement, therefore, in the engagement dimension, capability profiling systems that lets individuals benchmark where they are today versus where they need to be tomorrow, either for their current role or for their aspirational career. And this integrates with intelligent recommendation engines that we build that not just suggest learning content, but people they can connect with, experiences they should seek, and whether they wish to connect with any of the available experts, coaches, or mentors who are willing to connect and give back. When you layer in an ideation platform, this is where people can stress test their emerging capabilities by building contributions to real organizational challenges. And if you provide structured communities of practice where conversations with interested peers can spark and take a peek into further curiosity, and who knows, they may even surface internal influences and create followership, which helps, as we all want to do, platform and surface internal talent and identify potential. So when we then think about the insight, it gets powerful because when we embed skills taxonomies into daily recognition systems, we get what we call a kudos platform, which we build to capture not just what somebody did good at work, but specifically which skills they demonstrated and they impacted and how they deployed those skills to create a positive impact. All of that creates a good digital footprint, which when you combine, you might be able to shape what we're starting to coin as a skills trust score, where you get to not only see what they think they're good at, but what their manager thinks they're good at and what their peer group think they're good at. When you package that with a little portfolio evidence system, which helps them capture real world artifacts that help in real time capture evidence, then when you become to make strategic decisions about things like internal mobility, you don't need to force them through the hoops of a recruitment process, which is the same as though they've never worked for you for 30 years. You can use data-driven intelligence about the skills they've got, the aspirations they're working for, what their peer group think about them, and what their portfolio is saying. And this data richness starts to help you inform data decisions about who you've got versus the demand you need, how liquid and mobile that talent is, and where you genuinely have skill gaps versus what you might lack in just visibility. Now, this brings us to what I like to call within Auspicious the engagement equation, which fundamentally is when the workforce understands what's expected of them versus where they are, they can connect their own ambitions and aspirations with both organisational direction and others around them. They're then able to make intentional adult decisions about the actions they take to either bridge those emerging gaps or pivot their entire career. When you help people understand, create connection and enable action, and if you're focused on that experience of removing friction, you will see success. Now, I could talk a lot about this journey. I've got endless amounts of experience. What I personally say is take a step back and look at it through the eyes of that individual. And for us in those positions of authority, just think, just because the world says that there's a skill gap doesn't mean that you have one. And if you think you have one, I want you to question, how do you specifically know whether you have it? What evidence do you have? What data? And how recent is it? Do you truly know that there's a gap? Because if you don't know what you have in the organisation, do you truly know what you even need? And did somebody say workforce planning somewhere and strategic? Without those simple, what do you need? What have you got? And who's working towards it? What concrete answers have you even got to even say that you've got a skills gap? Now, in my view, use the technology intelligently, look at it from a cohesive, unified experience. And that's where, as Auspicious, we spend a lot of our time helping organisations. So with that, thank you for your time, and I'll hand back.
Wow. Rob, you really motored through that. Excellent. You must have been watching a presentation, actually, I just delivered in Brazil. Because I didn't have anything to do in between SkillsFest sessions. And I was talking about everyone being kind of involved in data and using it much more wisely. Almost everybody collects data and, they don't really understand it. There's even a job around, the data analytics of it, which is one of the biggest jobs, currently in terms of vacancies across Europe and ASEAN region, with 5 million vacancies across the whole of that space. And I think drilling down into an organization and really understanding, its ambition versus where it needs to be and how you get there and the people that you need and the skills that you need is a task that many don't carry out, because what they do is the boss will come along and say, well, we need to train. We need to train to hit our target, right? So it's more about their whim than it is about their business need. And I always am one of these people that will tear that apart and really critically review it, because I always think that people tell you what they want rather than what their business wants, and they don't understand the difference between the two. And that might be a bit generic in that statement, but it's so often the case in my 35-year experience. Yeah. Good. Thank you so much, Rob. Really good start to the day session. I'm sure we'll have some questions based on that. Next, though, we've got Masooma Fadhul. She's from ETIO, who used to be tribal or part of the tribal group. So great to have you here this afternoon. A company that's been around for many years, but this is a new guise under ETIO. So great to have you here.
Thank you. My name is Masooma Fadhul. I'm based in Bahrain. ETIO, as you can see here, ETIO is part of Tribal Group PLC with over 1,000 professionals employed. We exist in 55 countries. We've got offices across the UK, US, UAE, Bahrain, and Saudi Arabia, and a few more locations. We've got experience in school improvement, IT services, supporting government skills support in Bahrain. We had 2 projects in Bahrain to develop skills framework for 2 specific sectors. And we do a lot of school inspections across the UAE, across different areas of the UAE. These are some of the clients that we have from the United Kingdom, from across the GCC, and from the United States. What we do a lot of things. Actually, Tribal Group PLC has two arms. One of them is education services, and the other one is the IT services. At the moment, I'm speaking only about the education services, which is rebranded as ETIO. The Tribal Group is still Tribal Group, but we are rebranded into ETIO. So we've got different projects in different fields. We do school inspections, we do capacity building, we do workforce development across the different education entities. We've got performance benchmarking with higher educations, colleges, and education institutions across the globe. The project I'm going to speak about today is one of the projects that we had with one of our returning clients, the ARCEP UNESCO. And I'll brief you about the ARCEP UNESCO shortly. It's a research study. The ARCEP UNESCO is working on educational reforms, educational research across the GCC countries, Bahrain, Saudi, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, and they are dealing with different topics, different aspects. They're trying to find gaps and trying to identify the gaps, try to find solutions, do recommendations to the policymakers and the different relevant stakeholders. So this is ARCEP UNESCO. It's a center that was formed based on an agreement between the United Arab Emirates government and the UNESCO Center. The main two aspects for it is to build capabilities in the field of educational planning, policies, and leadership, and to work in alignment with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. Now, this is the second project that we do with the ARCEP UNESCO to help them in the reform of education sector within the Middle East. With our proposition, this is part of the education transformation, and as you will see in the coming slides, this project reforms or seeks to reform and enhance the alignment between the higher education outputs and the market needs, the private sector market needs. And we are trying to bridge the skills gap to support GCC economies diversification. The main aim is to identify the skills gap, to align the curriculum with the job market requirement, to foster strong collaboration between the educational institutions and the private sector. In order to do that, we first started with extensive literature review. We had the involvement of many researchers, and we analyzed the relevant literature review. We had market analysis around all the studies that were conducted by the different consultancy companies. We based the literature review based on theoretical and conceptual frameworks that are well known and relevant to the market of the GCC. After we completed that, we conducted survey. We sent it to tens of thousands. We got replies from 700, which was around 49% return, which was, according to the researcher, is really a success to get that much of replies. We had replies from around 700 from different countries. We had bigger chunks from UAE, Bahrain, and KSA, but we had smaller from Oman, Kuwait, and Qatar. But like 90% of the replies were very insightful. They were very reflective. The people who took the effort to answer these surveys, they did it with intention to improve, because the comments they were writing, the examples, the case studies, and many of them were interested to join in the focus groups. So after that, after the thorough analysis, we had focus group participation from across the GCC countries. And again, we had more from UAE, Bahrain, and KSA, but we had diverse participation from the other three countries. Like we had someone from hospitality, someone from IT, someone from engineering, and so on. So that gave us a bit more insights into this study. The findings, we had diverse findings. Some of the findings were like country related. Some of them were field or major related, where the specific gaps, skills gaps were, like, let's say, related to engineering or to law or to medicine or something like that. So some of the findings were industry specific. So the recommendations are based on these comments, where also country specific or major specific, or sometimes they were related to a national legislation that is in the country. So we had to link it to that specific legislation, and that was the reason why that happened as a result of it. We had a number of recommendations to address the identified skills gaps. The study was really long, and the main presentation for the study was like 77 pages, but I had to push it and squeeze it into smaller chunks just to give you a feeling of the kind of efforts that we did with the ARCIP UNESCO in order to address the skills gap that they want and put the recommendations. We tried to address the skills gap in the employability, both in the education. We classified them under two. One, the education, and one about the workforce and the workplace. We try to come up with recommendations. We try to come up with ideas. Every single idea, every single recommendation to any of the education entities or the private sector workplaces, they had an alignment with them, with policymakers. So there is a recommendation for policymakers to support the education sector in doing such and such, or to the workplace to do such and such. We had digital literacy initiatives as well, and we had a set of recommendations for the education sector, a set of recommendations for the employers, and again, for the policymakers to support both education and employers. There are bigger pictures, bigger and wider skills that needed the policy interference of the government. So we wanted some of the GCC countries, they have their own visions. Some of them, they incorporated the skills gap, touched on it, and some of them, they did not address any of them. So there are some recommendations for the policymakers to address these gaps from K1 from grade 1 in school up to the university, up to workplace, how the government can support. There are things that were recommended to the employers on how they can strategies for talent acquisition. Again, when we had these recommendations for the employers on how they can bridge the gap, we also had equivalent ones for the policymakers in the government of GCC, based on their own national visions and based on their own national initiatives to support these employers in order to be able to implement these initiatives. We had a number of recommendations for higher education in order for them to align the curricula, embedding the digital literacy, expanding partnership with the private sector, invest in learning. And again, we had the same recommendations for the policymakers on how to support the higher education in order to be able to complete these recommendations. The next step with the ARCIP UNESCO and with the policymakers, we had an extensive next step recommendation on how can the ARCIP UNESCO, how can the governments go a step further based on the international trends and practices, and how the other countries that had the same struggle before and now they're over it, how can the government take the same steps? How can they improve the skills of the graduates, the fresh graduates, in order to make them fit for the future work? This is just a brief context about us, how we were able to make this collaborative initiative. To link the market needs with the higher education and the GCC governments. That wasn't an easy job. It took like an extensive 1 year, 2 months of so many reviews. We had meetings with the the policymakers. We had interviews with higher education, with policymakers, not on the senior level, but on like the practical implementation level. And you would hear different stories than the ones you will hear from the senior management across the different GCC. We were able to tailor solutions based on the literature review we did. We had to do extensive studies, discussions, focus groups internally with our researchers. And by the way, the researchers that we deployed are from 4 different countries, and they're all involved in their country's policies and procedures. So we wanted international insights and international views to support the GCC countries to come out with these recommendations. So tailoring these solutions was not an easy thing. We had to have like back and forth discussions. Sometimes they were like, not everyone can accept the fact that this is right and this is wrong. So we had to come up with interim solutions for some of the aspects and the findings. Every step informed the next step in order to be able to publish the findings. This study ended with a number of deliverables. They are published. Some of them are published. Some of them are due to be published end of October. So that wasn't an easy job to complete this task, especially that it's related to private sector, higher education, and policymakers within the GCC countries. Thank you.
Thank you so much indeed. Sorry, you jumped straight to the end there. You nearly caught me out. Really interesting study. And how long was that study over?
1 year, 2 months.
Wow. And is that a study that's available for everyone to see?
It would be published fully in end of October in the RCEP UNESCO of the UAE. Yes.
Oh, fantastic. Fantastic. I mean, what I love about it is you kind of looked at the end-to-end process of recruiting talent and looked at it from multifaceted approaches. So for me, that was really, really important, particularly in GCC countries, you know, because there is always this pathway that is, you know, leave secondary education, go and get a degree, and then maybe not go to work, you know, and actually you looked at it from multiple routes and from multiple perspectives. So that's really important, really useful information. Really good as well that ETIO are so entrenched in creating capital talent for employers and talking about jobs and skills for jobs. So really, really great to have you on board today and setting that out today. So thank you so much indeed. We will come back to you. Don't disappear. We have some questions for you a bit later on in the session. Moving on, though, we are now going to be blown away, and I mean blown away, by MX Reality and my friend Majid, who is going to talk to us about some of the stuff that they're doing over there, particularly around Careersverse, I think, which is just mind-bogglingly brilliant. And actually, you had a bit of an advantage because Metaverse Learning, Cassandra, she was on yesterday and gave you a heads up and tried to showcase a piece of it as well. So 2 sessions for 1. Over
Fantastic.
to you.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'll thank Cassandra for that as well. So just before I share my slide, and then there will be a lot of video clips, just introduce himself, some CEO of MX Reality and the co-founder of Metaverse and Metaverse Hub. So I had the privilege in working in the mixed reality and for over 30 years across like virtual reality, AI, AR. And through my career, I've kind of collaborated with colleges, universities, employers, and so on to develop kind of the most advanced learning solution in skills development, health and safety, technical safety, and so on. But today, I'm not going to talk about this. I'm going to talk today about, which is really, I'm excited about something to share with you, which is deeply personal to me and meaningful to me a lot, because it's, I want to leave something behind for the young generation to help them with kind of how they can decide career pathways, to help them and help their parents to understand as well about what's available there, and then how they can choose the right pathways. And at the same time will help employers and to kind of attract young people to their sector, because we hear a lot about that. So I'm going to share with you video clips and examples. I hope you can enjoy it. And I will share with you some interactive demo as well. So I'll share my screen with you so you can see this in a second, right? All right, so don't worry, I'm not going to show lots of slides. There's going to be lots of video clips. So just a couple of slides just to go through to explain about what that is. So this is a project we created as I'm driving that personally. It's really kind of to help with the shortage in industry. There's a skill shortage. Every kind of industry I get involved in, they say how kind of much they need for demand for young generation to come their sector. So it's really kind of a problem. This is not only the UK, this is the global problem. I just came back from Qatar last week. Exactly the same thing they talked about in Saudi Arabia. Anywhere in the world we go, they have exactly the same situation. So what is the solution is we're kind of proposing here is to build the largest metaverse to help for career guidance. It's a hub, it's a community hub where you can create to allow students, parents, employers, all bring them together through that kind of through that metaverse. And then basically once they are in there, they can be able to talk to each other, they can download information, they can talk to each other and so on. So basically it's a community hub bringing them together. We done a consultation earlier this year because any project it could be excited to me or my team, but the key thing is really about what the industry is going to say about this. So we're lucky that the former Skills Minister, Mr. Hoffman, came on board and helped us with this. We launched it to many kind of organizations from a sector, if it's kind of to do with career enterprise company, for example, or UCAS or employers and colleges and so on. So we had consultation with them to say, here is a vision, here is what we'd like to create. What do you think about that? But to me, the most important people we are consulting with this is not only the sector, but actually the young generation. So we had lots of kind of young people came on board with us to say to them, here's what we're going to develop. What do you think about this? What you like to add and or exclude from what we develop? And then the whole system developed with them, with a number of schools we work in there. At the same time, we took this idea to the Parliament. We presented to the Science, Innovation, Technology, just to say, here's what we have, here's the vision, here's what we'd like to develop. Right, and then at the same time, we developed a number of projects for with colleges and employer to have either sector attraction in green skills or aviation and so on. And that feedback helped us a lot to develop what I'm going to show you next. So the next screen, I'm going to share with you a video which will last about a minute to describe about what the project we have in mind. And that video will be make available as well for anybody to see. And then after the video, I'll show you a couple of quick examples how that system works. So I'm going to keep silent for a minute and let the video to play.
Welcome to CareersVerse, the world's first immersive careers advice and guidance hub in the metaverse. Free and available 24/7 to job seekers, students and their families, CareersVerse is the go-to place to explore and learn about the various education and training routes and career pathways. Visitors can connect with employers, training providers, and industry advisors in one central community hub to help them find the right career. Meet your AI careers advisor. You can introduce yourself and ask for her help and guidance about suitable career pathways.
Hi there, I'm Aisha. It's great to meet you.
Hi, my name is Emma. Please tell me what career pathways are available in this sector.
Hi Emma, lovely to meet you. In this sector, there are a variety of exciting career pathways.
Aisha will introduce you to different sector portals where you'll discover a range of careers that keep each sector moving. Curious about salaries, job growth, or skills needed? Take a look at the sector diorama and get the facts. Visit various size stands to explore and connect. They are packed with information, videos, links, downloads, and more. Want personalized advice? Step inside to book an appointment. Explore your passion from official resources through the use of technology like augmented reality. Need more in-depth information? Step into a large separate space dedicated to a specific organization. Looking for insights from leaders? Visit the auditorium for live or on-demand webinars from employers, mentors, and peers. Talk to our team today to find out more. Discover, connect, careersverse.
So I hope the audio played. I did ask that, but basically this is the kind of the summary of the project and what we are trying to achieve. But what I'm going to show you in the next slide about how this is going to work. So basically, this is going to be a browser base, which is really important. Anyone can access that system. You don't need any special hardware. You just basically go online and then play. And then you meet your AI character, and then it's a free open chat, all controlled with that character will tell you about. But it's basically a thing you can explain to the AI character is introduce yourself and say, if you know what you want to do in life, which is great, but most of the kids, they don't. So this is more about you analyze you as a person, understand your hobbies and so on. Once you've done that, you move into our city and you can walk around. I'm using the mouse and keyboard to walk around, and you find the different pathways you can select in life to get more information. Once you select a zone you want to get in there, so for example, I selected aviation zone, then I'll be able to speak to, again, AI character, but in this case, she was specialized in aviation. So this is one of the whole way created, but straight away, you'll be able to walk around, understand what jobs available, and what jobs, and you can walk around. There are video clips available for interview with students, with employers. And although I'm in my own here, but in the kind of system will be available. Whoever walk around in that environment, you'll be able to see them and you'll be able to have a chat with them. And then we show you what education pathways you can get. Is it HE? Is it college? Is it university? Is it apprenticeship? And once you've done that, the next thing you want to do is to talk to employers, talk to training providers, talk to people who are expert in this field to help you out. And that's once you load this environment, you'll be able to walk around. So what we're going to do, the platform we created, it will allow us to enable anybody to go online and then have control their own zone. So we sublet all the spaces where they can be able to go there, add their own logo, their information. Once I go into their stand, so if I walk in here, and that we see here, I'm going to join a group chat so I can talk to them freely, or can book an appointment with them, further information, and book an appointment to say, if you're not around, could you please send me more information? So you basically walk around, you can be able to we're going to sublet smaller space, bigger spaces if they're required. Each of this kind of sponsor, if you like, they'll be able to access information about who visited their stand, what they've downloaded, what information they have. Lots of the QR code, we're going to have AR, so they can scan. If you want to try that something yourself, you scan a QR code, and then in this case, the airplane will sit on your phone straight away, augmented. So that's basically to inspire them to talk to other employers, to talk to training providers, understand what is going on in there. We're going to encourage employees and training providers to have live webinars, so and they can book, just like in real life, they can book the cinema room here, do the live webinar like what we're doing here, and then hopefully that room will be full with people in there. Once the live webinar will be over, we edit it and then make it available on demand video. So nothing get lost. Everything will be available for them. At the same time, we're going to make other areas available within the hub where employer can have their own stand, which is bigger stand. They must say, can I have my own area? And then boom, again, they can select that. And then you can link to anything you want, any resources you have within the system that will be available there, where you can have a link to existing material, existing different department, and then people can go there and do that. The branding and the information, it could be populated within 2-3 hours. And providing you have the information, all that could be done really, really, really quickly. And that's one of the benefits. So it basically is a space, parents, students can go there, download information, and we're going to create different sectors. So you have rail, you have construction, and so on. Army, for example, we developed. One of the things we went to Doha to present this solution and decided to kind of do a small touch for them. So it's so easy for us to create different brands for different countries or even different cities. So we can create the city of London or city of Birmingham, for example, or Doha or Dubai. And then straight away, as soon as you walk in there, so it became more related to you. and then you can be able to walk there around and then select the kind of building that you want to go there to explore career pathways in there. So that's the kind of idea, and then you'll be able to go into the same level, which what I demonstrated to you earlier. So this is what we're doing, and then this is the kind of different hallways. Just quickly, if I select know about rail, what's in rail, and I can go in the place and understand what happened in that. Again, make all information related to that sector. So we're doing, and this is how we're doing it one by one, is based on sector demands. So not us to say, I want to do something in rail. So we for example, we're doing things in healthcare. It's a big demand on healthcare. Nuclear, there's another one. Construction is massive demand as well. And army and so on. So we are kind of seeking for partners to work with us to put information, participate in that space. But at the end of the day, the key important thing is for the learners, for the student, where they can have the whole platform free of charge. We should not charge them anything for it. And then boom, they can have that and then engage. So basically everyone, it can be done in that way. So we've done various hub here just to show you how quickly we can rebrand. So this is for various companies. We branded for them, and then they can have their own AI character where they can be able to feed the information. In this case, if I'm speak to, for example, Amentum, then it'll be only information about Amentum, or if it's someone else, then it'll be all relevant to me. We have had customers said, can we have our own career verse for our own things? Yeah, that could be done, but from my point of view, I would like that whoever want to have anything to be built for them, to make that available free to schools and wherever they are. It doesn't have to be in any specific city or country, to help with that. But the other part as well, we're trying to help with people who have no jobs. They want to kind of improve their kind of chances to get a job by link them to employers. And that's why we're working with various charities, job centers, to build that environment as well and make that available. So the platform is ready, is being built, and is ready basically to go. So that is me. I will send more information. I know I've got limited time, so I'm trying to stick with that time, Jonathan, but I will, before you appear to me, I thought I'll do that quickly. And I will send you links in there, and then hopefully any information, please get in touch with me. I will put my email address here for you.
I'm glad you allowed a bit of extra time there, because that just gives me enough time to then just say how marvellous I think this is, right? I'm a big fan. It's a really great way to engage industry and to really get them involved in thinking about, how are they going to engage the talent of tomorrow? Because you've got to start early, right? I always advocate starting a kind of employers engaging with industry, 8 years old, if not younger, because by the time they get a mobile phone in their hand or whatever, they're thinking about becoming pop stars or content creators or something else. And actually, there's a whole wealth of jobs in every single sector that are really brilliant to be doing. And I think sometimes we just got to get better at, showcasing this to young people and their parents, because their parents, of course, are the biggest influencers of their decisions they make about early careers. So, the more we can get this kind of stuff out there, the better, I think. And this is such an easy platform, it's so friendly and all of that. And, your ambition to get it out to all schools free of charge, all students free of charge, is just such a great thing to be able to kind of get behind as well. So I have to take my hat off. I didn't have it on, but, I'll take it off to you. Really brilliant. I'm a fan, number one fan. So I love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Thank you so much. Appreciate your feedback. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure. Good. Thank you. And on that high note, we're going to stay up high. Pete Reed from Persona Education. Hello, Pete. A very good afternoon. He's run away for a cup of tea, right? We caught him out now. He's a minute early. You right there, Pete?
Hi, Jonathan. Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you, Jonathan. Hi, everybody. My name is Pete Reed. I'm the CEO of Persona Education, a UK-based online learning software company tackling the global life skills crisis among young people. Our mission is to improve the well-being, employability, and success of young people everywhere through online teaching and learning with a unique personality insights approach. Now, AI and what we can describe as a new division of labor between humans and computers is estimated to have already disrupted 85 million job descriptions around the world in just the last 5 years. And as the economy and job markets evolve, 97 million new roles will be created, according to the World Economic Forum Future of Jobs report. The future workforce, therefore, needs to be able to do the jobs that machines cannot do. So alongside the technical and digital skills required for this future workforce, there is a massive requirement for a range of soft skills, or social emotional skills, as they're sometimes called, also known as life skills, durable skills, transferable skills, and other related terms, which I'm sure you've heard of. So these are skills like non-verbal communication, empathy, growth management, creativity, all of which AI is not good at, and it's unlikely to become good at in the near to mid-term future. However, many education systems around the world have not caught up with this need. 40% of employers are still saying school and college leavers are not ready for this kind of workplace. And that's according to research by the Confederation of British Industry. Even before the COVID pandemic, well-being among teenagers was on the decline. And that is linked to exactly these kind of social emotional skills that employers are now looking for. The pandemic itself made that even worse, and the COVID generation teenagers are now the young people who are entering the workforce. A major OECD report published last year shows 15-year-olds worldwide reporting 30% lower social emotional skills than 10-year-olds. And that is the only aspect of education where capabilities decline instead of improving over time. Quite shocking. That has a major negative impact, not only on the students themselves, but also on schools with lower attainment and fewer leavers going on to higher education or good jobs, on universities with higher dropout rates due to mental health issues and mismatched admissions, and on employers with lower productivity and retention caused by this skills gap. These problems will cost $12.9 trillion globally in the decade to 2030, as estimated by EDT and partners, because many school and college leavers do not have the soft skills needed to succeed in the modern workplace. But the good news is that these social emotional life skills can be taught and learned to reverse these negative trends. And research by the OECD shows that students who develop life skills in school are 16% more active in getting career ready. World Bank research has found that 8 out of 10 employers believe that life skills are the most important skills for success in the workplace. And school or college leavers with strong life skills stand a greater chance of being hired by 92% of employers, according to a large-scale LinkedIn recruiter survey. Life skills and personal development for school and college students has traditionally been put on the back burner, as I mentioned earlier. But the crisis in well-being and soft skills now being experienced all around the world as a result of many factors, including COVID, of course, but also social media, climate change anxiety, reality TV, military conflicts, and other factors, is pushing it up the agenda for institutions and, importantly, for governments. So just a couple of examples. In Singapore, life skills are already an integral element of the National Education Framework. In the US, where social emotional learning is well established, 49 out of 50 states now have a policy promoting SEL, as they call it, in schools, despite some pushback and budget cutting by the current federal government, but those programs are unlikely to go away. And India's national education policy, which was updated in 2020, has a much greater emphasis than before on skills as opposed to knowledge in general, and it specifically stipulates that every school in the country must deliver a social emotional learning program. So governments are acting on this to some extent, and certainly in certain locations around the world, there's a lot going on from the government point of view, which is great. So if we're to prepare our young people to succeed in the age of AI, there's a very big need for life skills to be developed in schools and colleges before these young people reach the workplace. And that's why we created Persona Life Skills, which is our online teaching and learning platform. What makes it unique is that it's the only employability skills platform built around personality insights. Students develop 22 life skills with this unique personality insights approach. In over 80 modules, they learn to adapt their thinking, communication, and behavior so they can achieve more positive outcomes in life challenges like work experience, job interviews, working relationships with colleagues, and leadership. Maps to many skills frameworks used around the world, including India's National Education Policy, Singapore Ministry of Education, Pearson, BTEX, GL Pass, IB, for example, and many others. And importantly, students receive digital certificates each year as evidence of their skills, which they can then show to potential employers. And the schools and colleges using the platform have access to real-time data for monitoring and reporting to school inspectors. As I mentioned, what makes Persona Life Skills unique is our personality insights approach. This is the Persona Insights framework we developed on the screen, and that's based on assessing your own and then somebody else's levels of assertiveness and responsiveness. That is what's known as the social styles model, and with UK government R&D funding, we adapted the social styles model, which was originally created by behavioural scientists for use in the workplace. We've adapted it to make it suitable for young people, and as a result, we've created the state-of-the-art algorithm designed specially for this age group, that's 11 to 19 years old, and with over 1 trillion possible outcomes, so the learning experience is completely personalised for every single student. Students discover their unique mix of personality styles, find out how they come across to other people, and receive personalised growth suggestions. And having that kind of self-knowledge both accelerates and deepens the acquisition of the 22 life skills that we're working with across 6 different skill sets. And here are those skill sets. Being realistic is the first one. That includes skills like goal setting and time management, so fairly practical things. The second one, communication, covers listening, speaking, and writing. In open-mindedness skill set, we focus on empathy, respect, and being willing to change. Skill set 4 is problem solving, where students learn skills like conflict management, critical thinking, and teamwork. And that brings us to number 5, resilience, which is all about perseverance, self-confidence, and staying positive. Very important for young people in this day and age. And finally, self-control is the 6th skill set, which includes being adaptable, managing feelings, and self-awareness. The platform covers 3 levels of learning for each of the 22 skills within those 6 skill sets. At level 1, students learn what the life skill is all about and begin to develop it, learn a few strategies and tips. Level 2, they apply the self-awareness that they've discovered in their personality insights to take the life skills learning one step further. And at level 3, they explore how their level of adaptability, which is a very important skill in the workplace, how their level of adaptability affects the way they use life skills in their interactions with other people. So earlier I said it's our personality insights approach that makes Persona Life Skills unique. Here's an example of the personality insights output that a student will see after completing our personality quiz. These persona insights include a word cloud on the left, showing key characteristics, and a heat map on the right, showing where their persona is focused in the social styles matrix and how it's spread across 1, 2, 3, or even all 4 social styles. They also get an AI-generated narrative, excuse me, including growth areas to be mindful of, what to look out for when under pressure, and areas that they might like to consider working on. Things like being more flexible, perhaps, or being more patient, not interrupting, those kind of suggestions. Let's have a quick look inside a learning module. All the questions are accessible with audio, and all images also have transcripts. So in general, this site is very accessible. Modules include a variety of interactive activities to keep students engaged. Many of the questions ask them to type in an answer, and in a lot of cases, there's no right or wrong answer because we're asking them to consider aspects of their own lives and how they could improve their thinking, communication, or behavior in different situations. There are also various drag and drop activities, like this one about resilience and different approaches to getting work done, and many other kind of interactive activities. In the learning modules, we often use scenarios, so students can place themselves in someone else's shoes, allowing them to consider different situations, interactions, and challenges, without being asked to refer to their own experience necessarily, which they might not be comfortable doing, especially in a group learning situation. That pedagogical approach is called imagined contact, and it provides students with a safe place to observe and reflect and consider adapting their thinking, communication, or behavior when they are faced with a similar real-life scenario in future. Teachers can monitor their students' progress in any of the modules that they've started in real time. They can also see their students' personality insights, read any of the answers that students have inputted, and review their interactive activities. So there's a good amount of teacher information in there where teachers can monitor and track and check what their students are doing and perhaps intervene when needed. And to see the evidence of that impact, there's a built-in dashboard. This provides downloadable statistics on activity, module completion rates, life skills acquisition, based on the students' own feedback for individual students, classes, whole school or college, or even a group of schools or colleges. And that is essential evidence for whoever is funding the subscription to prove that the learning is having a positive impact on students and helping to build their life skills, employability, and career readiness. Students also have access to proof of impact for themselves with digital certificates that they receive each year or when they complete a course as evidence of their skills that they've acquired for the next stage education, perhaps, or to show to potential employers. In the photo there, you see one of our students from a school in Jordan who's very happily receiving a couple of certificates from his teacher. I'd just like to give you a brief case study about a school or group of schools in India called Seth M.R. Jaipuria schools, based in Delhi, and they have around 50 odd schools in northern India mostly. They adopted Persona Life Skills a couple of years ago, and about 20 of their schools used it. Following a 3-month pilot, students reported that their focus level had improved, their anxiety level was reduced, and they gained confidence and learned how to manage themselves better. Over 1,100 students were active on the platform, completing 9,644 learning modules in the pilot, with 94% of them reporting that they learned how to improve the targeted life skills in our survey that we conducted with them after the pilot. Interestingly, the most popular life skills modules that the students wanted to take were firstly self-awareness. So that relates to the personality insights aspect of the platform. Then respect, self-confidence, critical thinking, and empathy. And 98% of the teachers in that pilot, in that program, said Persona Life Skills improves students' employability. Their vice president, Arijit Ghosh, reported that there's a strong return on investment with regards to the purpose of education and the future of lifelong learning, and also said Persona's unique personality insights approach helps individuals to reflect and become better versions of themselves. So that's really exactly the kind of impact and feedback that we're looking for, and we do receive very positive feedback from many students and teachers all around the world who've been using this platform, which is fantastic. As of today, 650 schools and colleges from 50 countries on all continents have registered to use Persona Life Skills with 200,000 students. 97% of teachers say it improves their students' employability, and 94% of students report that they learned how to improve the targeted life skills. So globally, that success figure with students is very similar to the figure from the Jaipuria schools that I just mentioned. And these metrics are backed up by feedback from students using our online platform who say things like, I learned to find new ways of thinking and problem solving. It helps me to gain confidence and face life challenges, and I've built confidence on both spoken skills and for group collaboration. So it's this kind of feedback we're getting, which is really great. Just finally, I'd like to leave you with perhaps a surprising insight into the financial gains that is to be made from implementing this kind of life skills program in a school or college. Columbia University's Center for Benefit Cost Studies and Education in the States carried out an economic evaluation of several common social emotional learning programs of this kind and concluded that the return on investment is an average $11 for every dollar spent, which is huge. So when this type of program is put in place, money is saved through fewer missed school days, less need to provide extra support, reduced staffing time for addressing student problems, and fewer mental health interventions, which saves schools a lot of money. Another indirect financial benefit is the ability of the student to earn a higher income after they leave school. So it bears repeating, just to wrap up, the financial benefits of life skills programs like Persona Life Skills outweigh their costs by more than 1,000%. I will leave you with that. My contact details are in the chat, and I'd be very happy to get in touch with anybody who might be interested in learning more. Thank you very much.
Hey, thank you so much indeed. And those of you that have watched previous SkillsFest sessions will know that a big anchor of what we do is around the personal life and human skills, so whichever way you look at them. And I'm really glad, Pete, because one of the questions I've asked over and over again is, almost like, what's the impact and what's the value to the people that are buying these things, right? It's all very well you being a great provider, but if you're not able to translate that into a real value for the users and for the employers and for society, what's the point of it all? And to see that stat 11-1 basically on dollars there, it's just fantastic. And I do think we have to do more of that, right? Training providers, if you really want to get under the skin of businesses and all of that, you've got to convert what you do in that energy has got to translate into a business benefit. And the business benefit that they understand, apart from all the nice things, is money, right? They're there to make money. They want to save money, high energy costs, all these kind of things make a difference. And for you to do that piece of work and for that university to turn and say, actually, it's saving us money, it's making us more effective, and it's making a difference to the bottom line. That's a really powerful argument, not only for you, but also in actually pitching that as a socio-economic argument to buy this kind of stuff in the first place. So really well done. So glad you put that in there. Normally I ask this question at the end and everyone kind of looks at me like I've just gone mad, but not enough providers draw the line in the sand and look at the learner journey and how that translates. We all look at the soft stuff, it's lovely, it's the right thing to do, it gets us into jobs, but nobody can actually put pounds and pence on it, and you have. So well done.
Yeah,
love it.
It's really important. Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Yeah, no problem. Thank you. Moving on though, Baker Deering International CEO Simon Connell. How lovely to have you here, sir, and glad you could join us. Looking forward to hearing about the brilliant work that you do with university technical colleges and that format, which works so well. He's now hoping that I just keep talking for a minute while his slideshow. Oh, he's there. Look at that.
I'm here, Jonathan. Thank you very much for the kind introduction and good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to be here to talk to you today. I'm Simon Connell. I'm the Chief Exec of Baker Deering International. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking to you about how we empower young people through school-age technical education. I'm going to start with a bit of a story, actually, and as you've heard today, as many people have said, a sort of problem statement, really. Like many of the presenters on the call today, we believe that government and providers need to rethink their approach to education. The world's changing very fast. AI is accelerating that. Young people are questioning what they should be doing with their careers, as are employers. Lots of graduate underemployment, lots of underemployment full stop. Education needs to change. And, like many people, we think that needs to start early. And critical to the work that we've done is to look at aspirational school age technical education. And for us, our journey started about 15 years ago, where really through conversations with employers were saying to us, education isn't giving us what we need in the world of work. We're not getting young people ready to come into our companies. Something needs to change. We were fortunate. We had a former Secretary of State, Lord Baker, as our chairman, and he was able to convince government to part with the best part of £1 billion to launch what was a movement of university technical colleges, or UTCs as we call them. And UTCs are an innovative approach to education. They're high schools for young people, and they really bring together employers and young people and ensure that young people have the skills and the employability skills and technical skills to be successful in the world of work. 15 years later, we've seen the outcomes from this, and I'll cover those in a minute, but they really do prepare young people for the next phase, and particularly our leaver destinations are testament to that. This is a model that's been rolled out in England. We've got 44 colleges, 21,000 students, but it can be easily adapted. And we've done some work overseas already to see how it could meet the context and cultures of different economies. So in terms of benefits for young people and for employers, we know over the last 15 years that UTCs support young people into employment. They give them those industry-specific skills, but more importantly, they give them those employability skills, but also an awareness of the pathways into the world of work. You know, lots of industries out there which are changing very quickly, and young people need to understand the pathways into those areas. Yeah, I think crucially for many economies, the UK being one, but many overseas economies the same, they contribute to workforce localization. So they work closely with employers in areas where there are acute skills needs, and UTCs ensure that young people have those skills to supply the labour market. And of course, that's also true of economic diversification as well. You know, UTCs have evolved over the last 15 years to ensure that they keep pace with changes in the world of work. So renewables, advanced manufacturing, digital technologies have all been incorporated into what we do. You know, 10 years ago, if you walked around one of our buildings, there would be lots of hardware, there still is, lots of milling machines, CNC machines, and so on and so forth. Today, there's a lot more digital equipment, 3D printers, and so on and so forth. So we've had to adapt to the economic diversification of the UK, and that's the same overseas. But I think importantly, in addition to developing young people's skills and providing the future workforce, they also help with some very important aspects which all economies face with education. One is to get the basics right, to improve numeracy and literacy skills. And I think that, you know, really with linking the world of work to what's going on in the classroom, young people become enthused, they understand the value of what they're learning, and that improves numeracy and literacy. And it also helps to engage the disengaged. You know, particularly boys. I make no bones about making that point. Many of our young boys, we have 80% boys at our schools, many have been disengaged. They come to us, they see the purpose of their education, it improves attendance, it improves behaviour, they enjoy the hands-on learning, and they do very well as a consequence. So just very quickly, now I've given some of the benefits, I just want to sort of explain briefly what UTCs actually are. Well, firstly, they're high schools. They're high schools for 14 to 18-year-olds. They are purpose-built. So they look like the world of work. They've got workshops, and they've got a more business-like environment. They don't look like traditional schools, and they've got industry standard equipment. So young people from a young age, even from 14, are working on some pretty high spec kit to ensure that they understand what's needed in the world of work. The curriculum is designed by employers. It's designed by a university as well to ensure that what young people are learning is relevant to the world of work. But it's not just that young people are doing these technical skills, which could be in engineering, digital health, or creative media. They're also doing their core academic curriculum as well, which is vitally important. So they'll do maths, English, sciences, the same as everybody else from 14 to 16. But on top of that, they may do engineering, they may do digital, but they'll also do other aspects as well. And the employer projects that we provide are really what brings the curriculum to life. So they'll work with employers on sort of real world challenges that employers have that are linked to the curriculum in which they're studying. That might be done through a challenge, it might be done through mentoring, but essentially young people can then relate what they're learning to the world of work. And I think that's incredibly important. And that's one of the things they like most about what we offer. And then finally, there is a cultural difference in our colleges, which is really that we focus on destinations. In England, we have qualifications and examinations and all of that, and that's important, and our young people do well. But actually, it's all about what happens next. There's a real cultural difference between what we provide and most other schools. It's all about leaver destinations. Of course, it's quite easy to say, well, you know, you've set up colleges and they're distinctive and they're on their own and they're standalone. That sounds like a very expensive and time-consuming model, and it is in some ways. It's taken us, you know, from start to where we are today, 15 years. But actually, we've also developed another model which we're rolling out in England called the UTC Sleeve. This is much quicker to introduce, it's clearly much cheaper, but it has the same impact. And really, in a nutshell, it's about bringing that UTC distinctive pathway into existing high schools. So essentially, an existing school, that could be a public school or a private school, introduces a UTC pathway. This means from 14 to 18, young people start to spend some of their curriculum time, you know, doing technical qualifications, working with employers, having employer mentoring, doing work experience. Yes, they do this sort of standard academic curriculum with their colleagues, but they begin to have that pathway and line of sight into the world of work. And actually, to introduce a UTC sleeve is about 1/10 the cost. And for young people, this is a big benefit as well, because it allows them in particular to stay with their friends, which is clearly very important to them. But it has those characteristics, crucially, of a UTC. It's got that curriculum, it's got work with employers, and universities, young people develop employability skills, and there's that focus on destinations as well as examinations. And in doing so, it creates that culture that young people need to understand how to progress into the world of work. I just want to say something about how we work with employers in universities, because this really is the sort of distinctive characteristic of what we do. And there's probably sort of 4 areas where employers and a university offer more to us than perhaps many other schools. So we have governing bodies, employer boards, whatever you want to call them, and the majority of those governors come from the employers and the university. So they are setting the strategy, they are setting the line of sight for what the college should be doing, and they define the curriculum, and they ensure, crucially, of course, that our colleges, our UTCs, stay current. So they move with the world of work, which moves much faster than the world of education. On a practical basis, that means that they are contributing to the curriculum. They're ensuring that what they're seeing in the world of work, what matters to them, is actually integrated into the project-based learning, the technical qualifications alongside the academic study. They also provide other activities as well, visits, mentorship programs, and work experience, and all the things which they think are important for young people to have that awareness and develop those employability skills. And then finally, if you look at the graph below, really that's kind of how it sort of manifests itself. There is that sort of pathway. So young people come, they get this value add in the curriculum, the projects, the professional standards, personal development and career guidance. But at the same time, they're developing all of those employability skills that you've heard already today, problem solving, resilience, communication, and so on. So they're ready for the world of work. And the question, of course, that people often ask is, why do employers and universities want to do this? Well, actually, the more they put in, the more they get out. And we know through our experience over the last 10 to 15 years that the more employers put in, the more talent they get out at the other end. And so, crucially, we have effectively a commercial relationship with employers. We're not asking for their money, but we are asking for their time. And in return for their time, they get talent. And that seems to be a very sort of powerful symbiotic relationship. What are the outcomes? Well, it's helped enrollment. We did this from a standing start in England, and it was different, it was innovative, and to a certain extent it jarred with the existing system. We start at 14 in England, most schools start at 11. But what matters to any new business, will the customer bite? We've seen very high growth in enrollment. I think the changes in young people's attitudes to what they're looking for from education, what they're looking for to prepare them for the world of work has helped. So we've grown on average 10% per annum over the last 10 years. Students say to us through the surveys that we ran a survey of 10,000 of our students last year, that their attendance improves when they come to us, and that actually they like that mix of academic and practical learning. They see the relevance with it, and that helps them to, really be enthused by learning. We also know that their academic outcomes improve, so we baseline test them. When they come to us, they've often had a disappointing time, or it hasn't really resonated with them at their previous school, and they come to us and we pick them up and they begin to see the relevance of their education, and their academics improve. We've got a lot of analysis to back that up. What are they looking for? Well, they're looking for those employability skills. They're looking for those employer experiences, and they get them when they come to us. But it also gives them that sort of insight into what they might want to do next. They know when they leave us what they want to do, and crucially for employers who will then invest in their further development and their skills development and education. They know that they're getting somebody who knows what they're letting themselves in for, frankly, and they'll stay with them. So there's a high return on investment. But of course, the most important thing that we're looking for is destination outcomes. It's really important to us that all our young people leave us and they go on to a positive destination. And that really is the case. So only 5% of our leavers aged 18 don't go on to the world of work or employment or training, compared to 13% in English. There's a massive difference, and that is testament to the education they've got. Of course, we send a lot of young people to university. It's an important destination, but the majority are doing STEM subjects. They're doing engineering, digital, health, and they know that once they've done those subjects at university, they're well prepared for the world of work. But actually, like many countries, we have an established apprenticeship system in England, and many of our young people go on to apprenticeships. About 1 in 5 do, which is 4 times the national average. But crucially, most of those are going on to those higher and degree apprenticeship routes. And when one thinks about the return on investment for employers, what this means is that they're taking on young people who've already got that grounding, they've already got those skills that are needed, and so they can take them on at a higher level. They know they'll stay, they know they will develop, and they will get a good return on investment from the workforce. So it's symbiotic and it works very well. I just want to say something about Baker Deering International. We are the organisation behind this. We were set up by Lord Baker, really as the sort of overarching umbrella charity and organisation to support our colleges. And really that's what we've done over the last 15 years. We've got 44 in England. We've got 21,000 students. We've done this at scale. We've made a lot of mistakes along the way. Getting anything right in skills is hard, but we've got it right today. And that's why we're looking to take the model overseas, because we think it's absolutely relevant in all countries. And we've got the experience both of actually opening these colleges and filling them up and knowing what works to support other countries and also school providers as well. We work with about 400 employers and university partners in England, and we're proud today that we've got over 50,000 alumni. And of course, they're not just good university technical colleges, they're good schools as well. And our outcomes from our regulator Ofsted are higher than national averages in England for secondary schools. So really just to finish, I just wanted to say that, we felt for a long time that governments need to rethink their approach to education, and school providers do as well, in terms of offering something that's differentiated. And it needs to start early. It really does. And that's been our experience over the last 15 years. We've proven the model. We know it works for young people. We know it works for employers, and we know it works for governments. We'd be really willing to have further conversations with anyone on the call to see how we could take this model further with all of you. It can be adapted for different economies, and that's certainly what we've done in places like the Middle East already, and we know it works very effectively. So thank you very much for your time, and please do ask any questions on the chat. Thank you.
Simon, thank you very much indeed for setting out the UTC pathway and ambitions. Internationally, I'm sure this model would work really, really well. I love the collaboration. I love the destinations. You definitely got an uptick on that in terms of destinations for students. So really fantastic. Well done. And you keep plugging away at it, which is the most important thing. So all of the international people watching, Simon, do take note. It's a really great engagement model, and it's a really great delivery model, and it makes a big difference to young people's lives and their futures ahead of them. So definitely worth a look. So thank you, Simon. Last but never least is Immerse Education, and it's Aleksandra now who's coming on, and she will talk about Immerse Education.
Hello, everyone. I'm Aleksandra, and I work on the business and product development side, and from Immerse Education. And basically, I'll start with a brief company introduction today. Then I'll share the real life case study that we had recently. So basically, to provide the example and to share how exactly all the our programs and our product work, and I'll conclude with just a few bits of the academic and the educational approach. So to start with the Immerse Education, what we do is we essentially create educational holistic educational experiences for high school students at the university campuses. So it's basically aimed for young students, so they can feel the life of an undergraduate student even before they apply. And the main idea is basically to help them make more conscious decisions about their future, and to build up the necessary skills, to become more independent, to build their self-confidence. And I think there has been already lots of things have been said around the skills building within the young people. So it's not just about building some knowledge or about exploring the world academically, but it's always about how you can actually acquire some new skill set with or without using the technology. But it's not just about knowledge or technology, but how students can actually get this and can actually experience this. So yeah, we've been on the market around over a decade, since 2012, and essentially we what we do is we run our courses as a residential programs, typically during summertime, so a summer schools, and we it all started here in the UK from Oxford and Cambridge. But since 2012, we actually expanded quite a bit. So like last year, like last summer, we already run the programs in like 10 different locations over the globe. So it's like on different continents. And we also welcome students from very different like countries, from like more than 100 different countries. So basically to keep their experiences and keep the groups as diverse as possible. So not just to let them learn from like tutors or mentors, but also to let them learn from peers with the different backgrounds, with the different experiences, and to like have this continue this exchange of different experiences. So yeah, like our approach to education was initially honed in like the tradition of Oxford and Cambridge, but what we did is like we added more of the future-oriented and like skills-focused methods. So basically to combine, best of the tradition and the modern innovation, like the experiential learning. And yeah, so with we basically, yeah, in terms of the approach that we apply, so we designed the programs to meet the specific like learning objectives and the specific learning goals. And generally speaking, we have like 3 main pathways, or 3 main types of programs that we offer to the students. So it's academic insights, career insights, and the online research program. The academic insights program as like our flagship actually program, where it's like a university level enrichment programs, where basically programs are led by the expert tutors from academia, professors from the host universities, and these programs are focused on building deeper knowledge, like the advanced knowledge on the university level, deeper the research skills, critical thinking, and those kind of things. So this is more focused on the students who want to understand how the like research and science works, and who wants to like proceed with the academical like pathway, or at least explore the academical pathway like beyond school. A few years ago, we also launched the career-focused program, and this is basically the career insights, and these are more of an immersive industry-focused experiences. So here, what we do is like students actually spend a bit less time in the classroom, but more time in like around the real world environments. So they visit companies, they visit like the real factories, have some tailored visits there, the real offices, to kind of understand the current state of the industry, to speak to people from the industry, and like to basically see what's going on out there and what kind of careers they can have. And I think this also like resonates a bit with some of previous presentations, just to like show like how important it is to students, not just for the university students, but also like younger students starting from school ones, to like be able to understand what are the options that they can expect in the future, what skills they would need for different types of careers, and like what are the careers out there. And like the third pathway that we also provide and we also work on is the online research program, which basically allows students to work more on the individually or in the small groups with the like PhD level or like professor tutors on the topic of their interest. So it's basically like the course into understanding how the real research works. So starting from the stating the research questions, the research topics, how to deal with the literature review, and how to basically build your own research. And we also run these courses, so these are accredited with giving students the UCAS points if in the UK, or some college credits if they're interested in the US type of the programs. But it's all focused around building the needed crucial skills that students can actually apply, and then can learn through applying them. In terms of our way of work, it's typically of course our core main audience are pre-university students, typically aged from 13 till 18, who participate and who can directly search for our summer programs. But what we also do is like we work closely with the different types of organizations, for example, like schools groups and like school networks and educators, so kind of to enhance the like school curriculum with the additional like workshops, additional webinars, or like events, or maybe like in-country programs or residential or virtual. So there are lots of different options here. We also work with the governmental or scholarships bodies and with the non-governmental organizations or global organizations. So just to keep this focus on the skills building experiences across like the residential online options, but to keep this, you know, this focus and this balance between the like traditional education and the like the real market need, let's say. So a few words in terms of the like our impact. Well, of course, like we design programs to like produce some like to check to have the tangible outcomes. So and as we as most of our programs are for under 18s, so we maintain the close contact with not just students after the program after they finish the program, but also with the parents as well. So to ensure that programs meet their expectation and actually like the outcomes also meet their expectations. And what we can get from the feedback is that the main things, like the main highlights, is that such experiences actually like help with the easier university transition. So help the students to like basically make a decision about like what kind of university they would like to go, which country, how to explore and how to understand how the admission works, all those kind of things. And they feel like more confident and more independent about like any kind of next steps. This is something that it's kind of you know, like this kind of experience is not something that you can gain just through like browsing or like, I don't know, speaking with ChatGPT, but it's something that you can like gain through the real experience and by like trying and failure and applying something, some new knowledge once again. And our alumni have also gone like into a wide range of the universities and career path worldwide. So it's not just as simple. So if a student, let's say, participated in a program in like London or in Cambridge or Oxford, then they decide to go to the same like city or the same university. Could be like a lot of different options, but it's just demonstrate that in terms of the long-term impact, the students are becoming more aware about like what kind of options do they have and what kind of choices they can make afterwards. So to provide like let me illustrate this with more or less like a real example. So for the past few years, we've been working together with the ADEC, the Abu Dhabi Department of Education and Knowledge, to like design and deliver the fully customized programs for their young members. In this case study shows like the specifics of how we can develop the program, how we can design the curriculum based on the specific goals and the specific like needs of a particular organization. So in terms of the group, this summer, the group consisted of 45 students, and they were split between two different programs. So one in Tokyo and the second one in Singapore. And students were split depending on their preferences of the country that they would like to explore, but also the subjects they would like to study. So the main objectives of both of the groups were to like first deepen the subject knowledge and like through the academic and practical sessions. Second, to provide like to understand how the like university level study works and how the admission process works into the different universities. Third was also to enhance the personal development skills like independence and like the other transferable skills, like the emotional skills as well, that were also mentioned a bit earlier today, and to build more confidence within the young students. But also they were seeking to like some unique experience with with some exposure to the industry and some cultural immersion, because obviously as those students are traveling to a new country, to a new city. So it's not just about the academic side, but it's about learning through experiencing the new things and through like meeting new people as well. So in this case, both of the programs, they were residential. They were held in summer 2025 and with a bit of a different duration, but they all combined the like hands-on academic sessions, practical sessions, some workshops, mentorship, lots of different things, but all together designed to like support the personal and future professional growth of the students. And on this slide, what you can see here is like the timetable, the sample timetable. And while the exact font might be like too small, I'm not sure if you can recognize everything, but this can give you like an overview of how the program, how the day-to-day life is structured, so that students had both academic sessions in the morning, the afternoon, some workshops on problem solving, lots of different activities. And in terms of the results, the students explored lots of options, and they demonstrated enhanced subject knowledge, and worked also on the personal projects as well, so to complete and to share the results to peers and to tutors. And just to give you a bit of insights of how we work with Immerse. So we basically combine a few different frameworks that are all based on the skills talk, on the skills building, like the focusing on the 5 C's, the content and language integrated learning, the giving the personalized learning and individual feedback to all of the students, working with the expert tutors or like the guest speakers as well. And also we're using the mentorship model. So all the students work with mentors who are typically undergraduate students, current students of the host university. So this is basically they acting as a bit of a role model, and they can answer all the questions about the specific life of the university, the admissions, and et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, just to sum up everything, we're quite like flexible in terms of the program design, in terms of what we work on, or we can offer different like program lengths for different types of organizations or students directly. So that's quite flexible and quite different options here. And yeah, we just would be happy to get in touch and explore how we can help you with your educational goals. So here are my contacts, and I would be really happy to keep in touch.
Marvelous, thank you so much indeed. You have a complex role at Immerse Education, and you cover lots of activities between institutions. Are you doing much in the college space or the private training space, or is it all just for universities?
It's like pre-university mostly, but there are different options. So for some groups or some schools, they're interested more in like cultural experiences or like maybe language learning. So there are options here as well.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for clarifying. If I can ask all the speakers to come back online now, we will just have a look, if we can, at a couple of questions that I've got that have come in, and we can go from there really and see what we get. Okay, so first question I have is around engagement with employers. So Simon, you talked particularly about the way that you engage with industry and how that translates into experiences for, I guess, both the teachers and the students, and that interaction that you get in terms of two-way traffic with the student, institution, and the employer. I just wondered though, how does that translate overseas, given that many countries overseas don't necessarily do employer engagement in the way that we do in the UK? And have you kind of seen any challenges, and what do you see as the solutions to some of those challenges with regards to employer engagement? So big question, but employer engagement overseas is not quite the same as the UK generally.
No, it isn't. You're right. Although I think it depends on the market that you are looking at, doesn't it? I think Those that want to sort of grow their own, employer engagement is pretty important. Those that think they can import talent is probably less important. I think, you know, the big challenge between education and employment is the translator in between. Where it works best with our colleges is having a person at the college who is responsible for employer engagement. They talk the language of employers, they talk the language of schools, and they can translate between. So I think whether you've got an active employer market or you've got a more passive employer market, you still need that person at the college who's going to bring them together. And particularly employers need to see the benefit of this. You know, there's no doubt that if they don't see the benefit, they're not going to engage. And really, as we found in the UK, you know, those employers who really engage, they get lots of young people and it's very symbiotic. And those that don't put in the same investment don't. So I think it's, you know, it's like anything in life, isn't it? The more you put into it, the more you get out of it. I know there are some economies where the employers aren't so active, but I just think the world of work is changing and lots of young people are considering the value of just going to university. And so, you know, from a talent pipeline perspective, employers need to be looking at school leavers, and so this will only become more important.
Thank you so much indeed. I want to pick up on the tech question now. So I guess it's something that's relevant to you all, but actually, Rob, because some of yours is delivered online, and Pete, yours is, and Majid, yours is as well. So, and it really is around, you know, customers overseas buying UK online products, how that's customized, how that looks, what kind of tailoring and bespoke you can do, and all of that. So, do you want to add anything on that? Really, Majid, can you do multiple languages, for example, overseas?
Yeah,
and all
sure.
of that?
It's a good question. I mean, the beauty about technology is international language. I mean, that's the kind of thing. It's just like a bit of tweak you can do. I mean, you can do the languages definitely, but then you have the cultural awareness about the country you work with. I mean, simple things. What I showed you earlier, I demonstrated it in about March time to Qatari's organization, various organization. They didn't get 100%, but just a little tweak. We changed it from normal city to Doha. Boom, they got it straight away. They got it, said, yeah, that's exactly what I need. So technology, you can make it is international language, it is visual, and then you can just add a bit of kind of extra for that country. It could be applicable anywhere.
And Pete, yours is delivered online, I think. So are you finding you're having to adapt it for overseas markets, and what difference is that making?
Yeah, a little bit. So I mean, the key thing is making sure that it works on mobile screens, because in countries like India, students are not using laptops. You know, they generally don't have PCs in school that they can use, but they all have a mobile phone, and that is where the platform is being accessed. So that's the most important thing, I think. Make it mobile ready, and then in terms of languages, we find we've created it in English, and almost everyone's accessing it on a Google Chrome browser. In that browser, you can do an instant translate on any screen. So that actually works really well. And schools discovered that before we even tried to explore using different languages. And we've just left it with that because it works very well.
And Rob, is yours all face-to-face or online as well? I think you're doing a hybrid mix, aren't you? With
hybrid, yeah. So everything we build from a software perspective, of which we do many, is a 100% custom build. So as big or as small as people like and need, whether they've already got investments in technology that they just want to make work better or present differently, we do everything in between. So from a small little build to something as major as an ecosystem, every line of code is bespoke to the individual client that's asking for it in whatever language. We try and push for consumer grade. Nobody wants to use dull technology. It's quite a bit of a turn off, and echo Pete's comment, mobile and device agnostic is a real important factor. So yeah, everything's
so can I just add, the only challenge I would say it happens in a lot of countries is actually where the data gets saved. That is the kind of thing I've always been challenged. 100%. It has to be infantry, you cannot have it elsewhere, and especially when you deal with governmental organization and ministries. It's a must more than anything.
Yeah, I guess each country's data protection laws and all of that, quite rightly are different, and that needs protecting, doesn't it? We can't have it crossing borders and doing anything it likes. So I think that's always a challenge. And we, working on the IT projects in China, we had the same kind of thing. They wanted it kept inside China. So, I guess they're not the only country that wants that, and we wouldn't want it necessarily going everywhere. So great. There's quite a lot of talk about interdisciplinary skills. And if I look at the OECD or International Labour Organization or the World Bank, for example, and I look at their surveys around what are the biggest skills, actually the top 25, there is no technical capability at all. It's all about soft skills and human skills and all of that. And I know you've all kind of touched on that. And ETIO, a lot of your work that you did around the report that you did was on soft skills and how institutions and employers engage with soft skills. Are you finding that there is a big variance between regions or countries, or is it generally the same set of things that come up, but people just think it's different between countries?
I think it varies, but some are pioneers in addressing these gaps and trying to find ways to overcome that, while others are lagging. So it depends. But yes, when we had the RCEP research, we had researchers from 4 different countries. One from Scotland, one from Britain, one from Lebanon, and one from GCC. So they had different perspectives, but the discussion was all around the same findings. They all contributed in the policy of their countries, and they all had the same issues. Like for the Scottish, they addressed things earlier than we did in the GCC and Lebanon. The British were pioneering in some aspects. So the same issues were somehow in the different countries, but some of them they had it back in the 70s. Like one was from New Zealand. They addressed that long time ago, and they improved their vocational system and everything. And she was like leading the conversation. She was half New Zealand, so she was like leading the conversation in the improvement of the TVET part. While for the higher education, the British researcher was like more leading on the improvements that they did within the higher education. So it's there in different countries, but with different levels.
I do think sometimes there's a disconnect between, big institutions and what they do for employers and what they do for individuals, and it can get lost in translation. And I think it's just because, their focus is on keeping their institution alive and keeping buoyant rather than delivering jobs. It's about filling up universities sometimes, and I do experience this quite a lot with universities around the world. They're more interested in more academia rather than getting people into skilled jobs, whereas the approach that many of you are taking, of course, is about destroying some of those walls and barriers and really pushing people just to think about skills for jobs and skills for life and getting on in life.
In terms of technology, yes, I mean, that's an always bigger challenge from trainers, for example, teachers, because they think that technology can replace them. That is number one problem. I think everyone will share the same thing with me, but it's more about how you can hold that hand out to say, actually, this is more to complement what we have. It's more a blended approach. It's not going to replace you. And then what you give them a little bit of help, an online help, a video clip to show how this will work. Once that is done, then to be honest with you, the rest is history. It's just more about getting them comfortable with this, providing you don't penalize the customer to say you have to have the top high quality hardware. If they use the standard hardware, then you're in win-win situation.
I think another thing to add there, if I may, sorry, Jonathan, is just to remember that teachers everywhere are just strapped for time. So if our technology can help them to take the load off a little bit and just provide something that the students are able to run with, that they actually appreciate that.
I think there's a couple of things in our experience that comes across. Those that, if technology, I think, needs to keep pace in the corporate world and the academic world with the consumer world, because that's what breeds familiarity. We don't need training on how necessarily to use Temu or Amazon, yet some of our learning interfaces are somewhat different. So I think that's one. The more diversified they are, the harder it is to learn. I think we overwhelm sometimes in our efforts to help we overwhelm the interface with complexity, which breeds more confusion. So simpler, I think, we find often lands better. And ultimately, if the package needs to be trained, I think that in itself is a red flag on, well, actually, what can we do to make this just effortless to use? So I think those are the views that we come across quite regularly.
Fantastic, thank you. Now, as we're coming to the close, I just want to give you all a chance to be able to pitch really, for 15 seconds or so. Why should people connect with you? What's so special about your organisation, and how should they do it? And Rob, you are first on my dial.
So yeah, we're super passionate about talking to people in whatever walk of life, within any setting, about the challenges you face, particularly if it's about engaging humans of all walks of life and all ages in dealing with this world that we find ourselves in. That's where we really get a buzz. We have passionate people in how to bring stories to life, communications, platforms, development, but really our heartland is the conversation. So if you're a bit lost, if you're a bit uncertain, we'd love to grab a coffee and have a chat.
Rob, thank you, and thank you for coming along today and sharing your expertise. Majid, your go.
Right, you can get the best technology in the world and the best tool in the world. Without partnership, that means nothing. All my business, all over the years, everything done in partnership. And honestly, that is the most powerful thing, because you can be expert in one thing, but combining the expertise in teams is the only way it can be done. So we welcome you to come and anybody to come and work with us in this kind of way.
Fantastic, thank you. Masooma, your turn.
I totally agree with Majid about the partnership. We in ETIO work in partnership with different entities, and that is really a strong thing, because they're expert in their field and we're expert in our field. We've got the existence, like, for example, in Saudi, we've got the CR, some entities they don't. So we had really good partnerships through that collaboration. And it's like you don't need to reinvent the wheel to come up with new ideas, but with good partnership with good entities, we were able to present something which is really strong and effective and made that impact in the market. So I do agree with Majid so much.
Thank you so much indeed. And Simon, over to you and UTCs.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel very lucky. We've been fortunate over the last 15 years to transform the lives of tens of thousands of young people, to do it at scale, to make all the mistakes that no one else needs to make. And I think we have a very unique, globally, a unique offer, and we'd love to sort of share that insight, experience, and partner with anyone who's interested to hear from us. So that's my story.
Thank you, Aleksandra. And that leaves you, Pete, afterwards. You get the last word today. How about that? Aleksandra.
Yeah, so I would just highlight that we focus on the real world experiences and learning through practicing. So of course students can use and our tutors use the technologies, but still the main focus and the main value, I would say, is learning through collaboration with real people around, and basically by applying all the knowledge on the real world and practicing. So all those things that cannot be replaced by technology, at least not now, maybe in the future, but there are still something that we can learn from just human to human interaction.
Hopefully, if we get taken over by computers, I won't be here to worry about it, so it won't be my problem. Thank you very much indeed. Pete, that leaves you.
Thanks, Jonathan. Yeah, so I would just say, as I think everyone knows, teenagers right now are having a pretty tough time in this post-pandemic conflict-ridden world, and we know that our program, Persona Life Skills, really does boost their ability to interact effectively, boost their self-confidence, their career readiness, and their employability. We have a free trial. There's actually a free version that you can use for as long as you want with restricted content, but we certainly have a free trial, so anybody can have a go at it, any teacher, any school, any group of students, any youth centre. And finally, just to reiterate, it's all centered around self-discovery with our personality insights algorithm. Not only the students get to do that, but teachers as well can discover things about themselves, how they interact with colleagues and so on. So it really is a very, very helpful platform. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much indeed. Look, I really appreciate the time you've given up this afternoon to come along to SkillsFest and talk about your expertise and your company's offers. As I said, these will appear on recordings with the presentations and any additional materials that you send me that will appear next week. But, you know, it's been brilliant today. There is one more session left of SkillsFest this week, which is 8 a.m. tomorrow. So anyone that's around tomorrow, please use the same link to drop in and see us. Big thanks to you, Rob, Majid, Masooma, Simon, Aleksandra and Pete. Really great to have you here. I've been Jonathan Ledger. This is the Department for Business and Trade. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.